but money was always tight. Their marriage suffered under financial pressure, and by 1971, when Julia was just 4, they divorced. After the split, Julia's father stayed in her life, but her mother had to raise 3 children mostly on her own. Then, in 1972, Betty Lou remarried, hoping to find stability. Instead, she brought home a man who made their lives worse. Michael Moats was not the stepfather Julia needed. He was abusive and unemployed most of the time. He treated the family with cruelty, creating a home filled with fear. Julia's older brother Eric later called him a freak and said he made their lives miserable. Even Julia, who rarely speaks about this part of her past, has made it clear she wants nothing to do with Moats. Her mother later admitted that marrying him was the worst decision of her life. The marriage lasted for 11 years before she finally left him in 1983, but by then, the damage had already been done. While dealing with Moats at home, Julia also suffered a heartbreaking loss. In 1977, when she was 10 years old, her father, Walter, died of throat cancer at just 44. His death left a hole in her life that never really healed. Walter had been a loving father and a talented playwright who encouraged her creativity. Losing him at such a young age made her grow up fast. She learned early that life could be unfair, but she also learned how to push through pain. School didn't offer much relief either. Instead of finding comfort among friends, Julia often found herself the target of cruel teasing. Her wide smile, which would later become her trademark, was something classmates mocked. They called her Toothy, a nickname meant to embarrass her. The bullying hurt, but it also made her stronger. Years later, she used those painful memories to help others, speaking out against bullying and supporting campaigns that encouraged kindness. At 18, Julia Roberts made a bold decision. She moved to New York City in 1985 to chase her dream of becoming an actress. It was a tough start. She signed with the Click modeling agency, hoping it would help her get noticed. But modeling wasn't the breakthrough she needed. Jobs were scarce, and she struggled to make a living. To support herself, she worked different jobs while taking acting classes to improve her skills. In 1986, she got her first small role in the TV series Crime Story. It was just one episode, not enough to make her famous, but it gave her a start. She had no family connections in Hollywood, no easy way in, but she kept pushing forward. The rejections kept coming, but she didn't let them stop her. Her first film role came in Firehouse in 1987. It was minor, nothing groundbreaking, but it was another step forward. Then, in 1988, she auditioned for Mystic Pizza, a romantic comedy drama about 3 young women working at a pizza shop in Connecticut. She played Daisy Araujo, a confident and rebellious young woman. The movie wasn't a huge commercial hit, but critics loved it. Roger Ebert called Roberts a major beauty with fierce energy and predicted she would be a star. His words turned out to be true. At the time, Roberts was still working as a sales clerk at Ann Taylor in New York. One day, she was selling clothes. The next, she was getting noticed by Hollywood casting directors. Mystic Pizza put her on the map, but she still had more to prove. In 1989, she landed a role that changed everything. Steel Magnolias was a drama with a powerful cast, including Sally Field, Dolly Parton, Shirley MacLaine, and Olympia Dukakis. Roberts played Shelby, a young bride with diabetes. The role was deeply emotional and required real vulnerability. She wasn't even the first choice. Meg Ryan had originally been cast, but left to do When Harry Met Sally. Roberts stepped in, ready to prove herself. The production was challenging. Director Herbert Ross was hard on Roberts. He criticized her weight, her looks, even her acting. It was a tough experience, but she pushed through. Her performance was unforgettable. The film made $96.8 million against a $15 million budget. More importantly, Roberts won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress and received her first Oscar nomination. Julia Roberts was only 22 when she took on the role that would change her life. In 1990, she starred in Pretty Woman, a romantic comedy that became a massive hit. The film told the story of Vivian Ward, an escort who gets hired by a wealthy businessman for a week and ends up falling in love. Richard Gere played Edward Lewis, the sophisticated businessman who never expected to fall for her. Their chemistry was undeniable, and audiences couldn't get enough of them. But the movie almost didn't happen the way people know it today. Originally, Pretty Woman was a dark drama called 3000. It had a much grittier story with a sad ending where Edward leaves Vivian behind after throwing money at her. When Disney took over, they changed everything. The script was rewritten into a modern fairy tale with a happy ending. That change turned out to be the key to its success. With a budget of just $14 million, expectations weren't high. But when the movie hit theaters on March 23, 1990, it took off. It grossed an incredible $463 million worldwide and sold over 42 million tickets in the US alone. That was more than My Big Fat Greek Wedding in 2002, which had been one of the biggest romantic comedies ever. The film's success was historic, making Julia Roberts a household name overnight. She won a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a comedy or musical and received an Academy Award nomination for the role. She was officially Hollywood's new America's sweetheart. But getting the role wasn't easy. When the original production company folded, Roberts, who had already been cast, had to audition all over again. Disney wasn't convinced at first, but director Gary Marshall pushed for her. It was the right decision. She and Gere were perfect together, and their connection made the movie unforgettable. Some of the film's most famous moments weren't even planned. In the scene where Edward shows Vivian a diamond necklace, Gere suddenly snapped the jewelry box shut, making Roberts burst into laughter. That reaction was real, and Marshall decided to keep it in the final cut. Filming had its challenges. Roberts was so nervous about shooting romantic scenes with Gere that she broke out in hives. During one moment, Marshall even climbed into bed with them to help her relax. The famous bubble bath scene had its own problems. The detergent used for the bubbles stripped the dye from Roberts' hair, forcing the crew to fix it late at night. Casting was another hurdle. Before Roberts was chosen, several famous actresses turned down the role. Even Gere wasn't sure about joining until Roberts convinced him. During their meeting, she slid him a note that simply said, "Please say yes." That was all it took. Even though the film was a massive success, Roberts had no idea at first. When it premiered, she was away working on another project. She later found out that Pretty Woman had made $11 million in its opening weekend, a huge number at the time. Adjusted for today, that's around $21 million. Years later, Disney would celebrate it as their highest-grossing R-rated release until 2024. After Pretty Woman, Roberts became one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. She starred in hit after hit throughout the 1990s, including My Best Friend's Wedding in 1997 and Notting Hill in 1999. But in 2000, she made history. She became the first actress ever to earn $20 million for a single film. That movie was Erin Brockovich. At the time, top male stars like Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks were making $20 million per film, while women in Hollywood were paid much less. Roberts changed that. Her role as real-life activist Erin Brockovich was one of the best performances of her career. The film grossed $256 million worldwide on a $52 million budget, proving that a female-led movie could be just as successful as any blockbuster. She won her first Academy Award for Best Actress, and her salary set a new standard in Hollywood. Roberts later said she never saw the negotiation as a fight for equality. She just wanted to be paid fairly. In an interview, she explained, "I didn't feel so boxish about it, but I felt like, let's get real. Let's be fair." Her success opened doors for future actresses to demand higher pay. But it all started with Pretty Woman. The movie turned Julia Roberts into a superstar, and decades later, it's still a classic. The red dress, the unforgettable romance, and the perfect blend of humor and heart made it a cultural phenomenon. What began as a small-budget film with an uncertain future became one of the most iconic movies of all time. Julia Roberts' career has been a roller coaster of massive hits, surprising missteps, and unforgettable performances. She went from being a fresh-faced newcomer to one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, earning record-breaking paychecks and an Academy Award along the way. In 1991, she took a big risk with Sleeping with the Enemy, a psychological thriller that marked a shift from the romantic comedies that made her famous. She played Laura Burney, a woman who fakes her own death to escape an abusive husband. The film had mixed reviews, but audiences were hooked. It grossed $175 million worldwide on a budget of under $20 million. That kind of success proved that Roberts was more than just a rom-com star. She could carry a thriller, and she could bring in massive box office numbers. That same year, she starred in Dying Young, a romance about a woman who falls in love with a terminally ill man. It had all the elements of a tearjerker, but critics called it predictable and overly sentimental. It didn't resonate the way Sleeping with the Enemy had. It wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't a hit either. Then came Hook, Steven Spielberg's take on the Peter Pan story. Roberts played Tinker Bell, a role that should have been a dream. The movie made over $300 million worldwide, but behind the scenes, things weren't so magical. Rumors spread that Roberts had a tough time on set. Crew members even nicknamed her Tinker Hell.